My name is Samiha Alwan, and I'm a contributor to Gaza Writes Back. The book, which is being launched in commemoration of the 5th anniversary of the Israeli offensive of 2008-2009, is a reflection of how influential those horrible days have been in the life of every single Palestinian. Along over 1.5 million Palestinians residing in the Gaza Strip, I saw, heard, lived, experienced firsthand one of the most horrible and ugliest forms of occupation. And for us as a young generation of Palestinians who were born, raised, and forced into isolation, it was also a moment of epiphany, a realization to who we really are and what we are being subjected to on a daily basis from the policies of apartheid by the Israeli occupation. And it almost politicized every one of us, and it politicized every single aspect of our life, from the mundane experiences of every day, like the experiences of going to school or getting medical medications, or the simple human experiences like having a normal dinner with the family and so on, to the experiences of life and death. Every single one of those was a reminder of the occupation. But it was through narrative that we could keep in touch with our own identity, our own memory, our imagination of home, what it looked like, what it looks like now, and what it can look like in the future. So writing for us took the form of therapy, in which we could negotiate our own experiences with ourselves. And it was also a duty for us, a duty for representation. It was time for Palestinians to represent themselves by themselves. It was the voice of Palestinians speaking. Writing thus took the form of therapy. Blogging presented one of the best means by which we can reach out for the world, but it also presented a means by which we can reach out for other Palestinians living elsewhere. It was like a virtual unifying space, acting in defiance and in resistance to the Israelis' consistent attempts to fragment us as Palestinians. This is an extract from the story and my contribution to Gaza Writes Back. It's a story about a toothache in Gaza, but it does not only reflect the pain of a toothache, it also reflects the pain of being a Palestinian refugee, holding only to a Palestinian refugee card, UNRWA card, that entitles you to so little and instead of what we have already lost in return.
For a moment, I thought about running away. My father began pushing me through the crowd even before number 7 was called. The people present again roared in unison, "Number 7, where is number 7? He held my hands while I lagged behind. 3 doctors seemed very nice. Well, at least they asked me about my name. I had to lie on the chair, and in less than a minute, the doctor declared I needed surgical tooth removal, which, unsurprisingly, the UNRWA clinic did not offer. I forgot about the pain. All I wanted was to get out of that sterile room. I stopped holding my breath when I was out. I hurried for the exit of the building. When my dad emerged later on, I, with the same smile of the little girl, looked into his eyes. "See, they cannot help me, I told you." My father, who had stayed behind for more information from the doctors and to bring any medications they prescribed, laughed when he saw my pale face finally returned to its usual color. He raised the little bag of medicine in front of my face. "At least, I've got you some painkillers." "Yes, painkillers," I smiled thoughtfully.
Hanan Habashi, a contributor to Gaza Writes Back. I was born in Gaza. I grew up in Gaza, a place that doesn't know what normal life means or what freedom looks like. We've always loved Palestine and those who fought and died for its sake. But it wasn't until we lived 23 days of horror did we realize how helpless we were, how nobody was immune to Israel's fire. Every explosion was able to shake our whole being because it meant that somebody's loved one had gone forever. Our eagerness to know the names of the new martyrs would say volumes about the second-to-second terrorizing experience we went through. Victims became mere numbers. The world witnessed a massacre, and we witnessed the world counting the dead, our dead. An African proverb says, "The tree remembers what the axe forgets." The pilot who threw tons of explosives over tiny little heads, warm little heads, doesn't remember the button he clicked. His memory never dwells on the disturbance he felt as his Apache seat was quite uncomfortable. The memory is all ours, because the memory belongs to us. At some point, the story became all what we have to fight off injustice and the death it begets. We had to become storytellers in the time of statements and statistics, because this story can show how people died and how they survived. It can always remind us that birds tapping on windows are just there to celebrate life. Gaza Writes Back came to capture stories of resistance and resilience into one book. It offers an insight into what Palestinians experienced, what they felt, what they are suffering, and what they're dreaming of and fighting for. The book is a courageous attempt to cure this world's stiffness. It is a first step that this world needs to second.
It is when darkness prevails that I sit by the window to look past all those electricity-free houses, smell the sweet sounds of a calm Gaza night, feel the fresh air going straight to my heart, and think of you, of me, of Palestine, of the crack, of the blank wall, of you, of Mama, of you, of my history class, of you, of God, of Palestine, of our incomplete story. I enjoy bringing to my mind your tender voice narrating the story of Thair. I still remember how I cheerfully beamed when you told me that I and Thair are so much alike, that he has my wild eyes and I his sheepish smile. I haven't yet known who he is or where in life he stands, but I believe I had always trusted your heroes. I can never forget how your dazzling eyes had brightened when you recalled him planting some olive seedlings in the backyard of the orphanage. God bless the smile on your face. God bless the seeds under the ground. I can never forget how you looked me in the eyes and said, "He's a boy who lost his whole family to death, but never lost faith in life. I want you to be as strong." Baba, do you remember when I asked you if he was strong enough to wrestle an Israeli soldier? You grinned. You always did. But you didn't answer me. You wanted me to figure things out on my own. You told me he was only 12 years old when one of the orphanage girls, Amal, started trembling, hallucinating, and sweating, when nobody there had the guts to break the military curfew, to die. Thair, however, did go out to bring a doctor for Amal. And then hell on earth, Baba. And then you are no more.
Hi everyone, my name is Mohammed Sulaiman. I'm a contributor to Gaza Writes Back. I have a BA in English Literature from the Islamic University in Gaza and a master's degree in Human Rights from London School of Economics. I contributed to Gaza Writes Back with 3 stories. Like every other Palestinian from Gaza, my life has been immensely characterized by violence, by prolonged periods of political instability, by oppression and injustice. This has been the direct result of Israel's occupation, colonization, as well as its blockade of the Palestinian territories, particularly the Gaza Strip. And following costed operation back in 2008-2009, a sense of powerlessness overcame me, and I felt the urge to do something that could help me reduce this feeling of being helpless. And I believed that the pen is mightier than the sword, and I knew that the only thing that I could do is to write. And therefore, I created a blog so that people could know about what was happening in this place. And I started documenting my experiences of living under Israeli occupation and blockade of the Gaza Strip. I started recording every passing thought. I started recording my feelings, my experiences, and a huge number of people visited my blog, and therefore I turned to international media outlets. I started writing and publishing on different media outlets, and I wrote the 3 stories which are published in Gaza Rights Back at the time when the war happened, after the war finished, and when I knew that they were going to be published in this book, I started editing them and revising them, and for me they represent the story of the Palestinian people, the Palestinian children, the Palestinian workers, the Palestinian prisoners, and they sort of try to embody the suffering and the misery that the Palestinians have to live under due to Israel's occupation. Now I'm going to narrate part of one of the stories that I wrote for Gaza Rights Back.
The candlelight flickered, and thus his shadow on the wall did as well, while a gentle cold breeze blew through the slightly opened windows. Hamza's mother, a woman in her late 40s with a mole on her nose, made sure to open them before everyone falls asleep, so that in case a blast takes place nearby, the windows will not be smashed into pieces. Hamza, his book lying open in his warm hands, persisted in reading his tattered book, which his father used to be obsessed with. As Hamza was reading, he raised his eyes off the book, looked through the open window and said, "They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom." He could not tell what exactly brought those words to his mind, but he repeated them a second time, trying to suppress his enthusiasm so that he doesn't wake up his only brother, Jihad, 7 years younger than him, who was sleeping nearby. Hardly had Hamza closed his lips on softly pronouncing the M in freedom than a deafening blast struck the area and turned the once never-ending prevailing silence into an ear-shattering thunder. Instinctively tightening his grip on the book, his heart pounding as though it were ripping his chest from inside, Hamza immediately jerked his head back. Jihad moved in his sleep, causing his sheets to fall off his bed. Hamza stood up quietly, put the sheets back on his brother, and returned to his book. He focused his gaze ahead, straining to fathom something of what he saw, but the deeper he focused, the more his grip tightened around the book, and the blacker the darkness seemed around him. He soon fell asleep. No one could ever understand what made him smile in his sleep. No one could ever guess that only when he was asleep he could have the things that would grant him relief and happiness.